When the school was founded in 1983, if nothing had been a commodity, we would have quartered the market. We had no money, we had no school stuff, which would include science labs, library, fields, theater. Were it not for Temple to Hirsch Sinai renting us rooms, we would have been pinned in the first period. End of state tournament. So we never forget that they were, in fact, the reason that gave us a chance.
Right at the beginning, we spent the 2 weeks before the school actually opened living in my house. And for 2 weeks, the faculty was there answering phones, creating these to-do lists of all the things we had to have in place. The curriculum, the books. There were faculty we still needed to hire. And then that first day that the school opened, they walked into these classrooms in the Temple, exhausted, but you would have never known it. It was that kind of spirit and commitment to making things work that we saw right at the beginning and saw all the way along.
When you don't have a lot, and in some ways we didn't back then when we first started, you can either sit around and think about what you don't have, or you can focus on what you do have. And the first thing we had was a fantastic faculty. The second thing that was really clear is that the faculty understood the importance of relationships with kids. And not only did they understand the importance of establishing relationships with kids, but they understood that those relationships existed to move kids from potential to achievement in all kinds of areas. And I'd say the third thing that the school and the community recognized early on is that we could create all kinds of programs that weren't limited by our facilities.
We were not only in the community, we were of the community. Kids saw a link between the classroom and the real world because frequently the real world was their classroom. We developed what we call the leech approach. We rented, we borrowed, we leased all over the neighborhood. We had an arts satellite, an athletics satellite. Eventually had science labs rented from Seattle Central Community College. The ebb and flow of the daily cycle and the neighborhood cycle was just a part of who we were.
We were looking for space. So we looked, and then we sent out a survey to our alums, asking questions about what they would like to see when the school moved to new space. And the survey came back with definite wants: stay urban and stay put.
Well, when we got to Vanderbilt, I've always been of the belief that space is hugely important. And it's not as important as people and programs, but if you have the people and programs and you don't have the space, it's a problem. And so Vanderbilt changed the whole perspective of the school about itself.
I will never forget the day it opened. And the first day, these kids came running upstairs to my new office and said, "We love this. We love this." And of course, it gave us the science labs, and it gave us larger classrooms. It gave the older kids a feeling that they had their own space and their own identity. It gave the middle school that sense of we have our own space and our own identity. So it was just a major, major step for the school, and one we were able to do because we've been planning. Stars just started to line up, and the first star that hit that sky was Vanderbilt. And so where the Arts Center stands had been an auto parts shop, so we picked up those properties. And that allowed us then to start this planning process for the gym and the Arts Center.
And we had already been so entrepreneurial and innovative in adding programs that when the spaces came in, faculty and kids were just so ready to grab those spaces and launch all kinds of new programs. When we had our own theater and we had our own space, there was an explosion, not just in the number and kinds of shows, but in a lot of ways the quality. The same thing in athletics. Once the gym became part of the life of the school, there was this sense for kids in athletics, as there had been in arts, that there was a place that was kind of a home base, and it was a place that sent the message to kids that what they were interested in had value. Kids are participating at higher levels now than they ever have before in the life of the school. And that's partly because the more opportunities they have, the more things they want to try. I think it also goes back to faculty. If you have a faculty who recognize that part of their responsibility is to establish relationships with kids that encourages them to continue to do the things that they love and are good at, and the faculty is continuing to encourage kids to try things that they don't know if they love or not because they haven't done them before, and they might not be very good at them, but they want to do them. You know, we found that the more we've added spaces and programs, the more the participation rates have actually gone up.
Suddenly you're getting all of these championships. You're seeing kids able to rise to a whole level that we never had before. The quality of what could be produced just changed. And part of the reason it changed is that you didn't have to put all this energy into figuring out how to work around the limitations of space. And instead, you're focusing on the potential of the kids in the space. It was magic, and that will happen again.